Welcome to Family Health by Mini First Aid. Mini First Aid are the UK's leading family first aid provider, and we are delighted to bring our latest podcast series to you, giving you all the information that you need around family health subjects. Thanks for joining. Series 1 of Family Health by Mini First Aid podcast is sponsored by Savlon Scar Prevention Gel. Savlon Scar Prevention Gel helps soothe pain, promote faster healing, as well as reducing the risk of scarring when used on minor wounds, superficial burns and grazes. With 6 children in my house, scrapes and cuts are plentiful, so my first aid box saviour is Savlon Scar Prevention Gel. Hello, I'm Kate Ball, founder of Mini First Aid, and welcome to our podcast, Family Health by Mini First Aid. It is great to hear that you've been enjoying our new Family Health podcast series, where we will continue to bring you the top family health advice from leading experts. So today we are talking to school and safeguarding nurse Angie J. Angie is just about to have twins. We've got so much in common we've got to talk about today, and we've literally just caught her with less than 2 weeks to go in her pregnancy. So we've caught her just at the right moment to chat to her. Welcome to the podcast, Angie. I am so excited to talk to you about all things antenatal, postnatal and first aid with you.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to be getting into this podcast and talking all things pregnancy, twin mommy life and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you.
Angie, how are you feeling? I know you were very poorly at the early stages of your pregnancy.
Yeah, do you know what? Now I'm feeling really good. Obviously, I've got 2 weeks or less to go. So I'm just contending with like the hip pain, the pelvic pain, because carrying 2, as you know, can get super heavy towards the end. But yeah, in comparison to the beginning, it was horrendous. I had that hyperemesis. So it was a lot of vomiting for 4 months straight, to the point I couldn't even keep water down. And I feel like a lot of people get it confused with just general sort of morning sickness. I don't even like saying morning sickness because it's not even just the morning, is it really? And then you get people saying, "Oh, have you tried ginger?" kind of thing. I'm like, this is way beyond ginger. Ginger cannot help this. So yeah, now that I've got over the hyperemesis, I'm actually really starting to enjoy the last few stages of pregnancy now. I'd be kind of sad when my bump goes.
I know. I had that feeling too with my twinnies. So how are you feeling about becoming a twin mama?
I am a mixture of super, super excited and also nervous, because it's just like you don't go into your first sort of scan thinking that they're going to announce, this is a twin pregnancy. And then when they do, it's just like, what? Because there's not twins on either side of our family. So we're not expecting that at all. But we're super excited to see even just what they look like and just watch their bond grow as they get older, and how they are with each other as brother and sister, because they're one each, one boy, one girl. So I think that's what makes me sort of like, I'm looking forward to becoming a twin mum, and what excites me as well.
I can't tell you how excited I am. Honestly, I think there's a thing that once you've had twins, when anybody else tells you they're expecting twins, you almost go on that giddy road. And I know since we first met, I've been like, yes, Angie's having twins, because it's incredible. And I also think it's just amazing. Blows your brain what your body can do, can't it?
Yeah.
It's absolutely. Now, look, you're currently a safeguarding and school nurse. So you have a role within schools, which you can tell us a little bit about. And you've also got loads of previous nursing experience in lots of different settings. How would you then describe the care that you've received with this twin pregnancy? Because I know things can be quite different and lots of appointments.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think this time round, the care I received has been quite good. And I don't know if that's because this time around I'm more knowledgeable, more focused, and I kind of know what questions to ask the professionals that I've come across. Whereas when I compare it to my first pregnancy with my daughter, even though I'm a nurse, which sounds crazy to say now, even though I'm a nurse, I still felt almost under pressure to go along with what I was being told at the time, because I wasn't really well read up about, what my birth rights were at the time. Simple things like I was told I was denied, I can't have a water birth because I was just over the BMI. I was slightly over the BMI sort of indicator, which now I know that's not a reason to deny a person a water birth. So little things like that I'm aware of. Well, actually, I can if I want to. So I do ask a lot of questions now this time round, and I've got amazing people that I keep in touch with who also advise me what my rights are, what I can ask for, what I can do, what wouldn't be so safe, for example. So I feel I've got a bit more knowledge. If I wasn't a nurse or I didn't have sort of like support or access to people around me, I think maybe the story might be different.
Sure. Okay. So you feel like you're surrounded by experts that can give you that direction.
Yeah.
And I guess that really leads on to what's been hugely topical in the media recently, is that it was Black Maternal Health Awareness Week. And I noticed we follow you avidly. We follow each other avidly on Instagram. And if you want to check out Angie, it's Nurse Angie J as her Instagram handle. But you posted about how you felt about Black Maternal Health Awareness Week, being a Black woman, and also because you're expecting twins. And I know that you feel passionately about the importance of improving maternity services for Black women. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just, there's so many charities and organisations out there at the moment that highlight just the massive disparities between sort of like Black women in maternal health care. And, we're literally 4 times more likely to come to harm either during our pregnancy, after our pregnancy. And that's because of a number of reasons, a number of factors. Black women were always seen as more aggressive, we can tolerate pain, more masculine. So putting all that together, if we go in and ask for, something's not right or something's not wrong, if it doesn't feel right or we're in pain, it's automatically met with kind of like, really kind of thing. And we hear so many stories in the media where unfortunately Black women have either lost their lives or the babies have lost their lives because we weren't listened to or they weren't listened to. So this is something that I feel really passionate about, and it's exactly why during this pregnancy I've sort of gone out of my way to make sure that things go as smoothly as possible for myself. And I think it's also important to get the fathers, the birthing partners involved as well, so they can also advocate for you, for whatever reason, when you're in labour and you're not coherent enough, they can also advocate for you and say, no, what's going on here, kind of thing. So yeah, Black Maternal Health Week is something that, we all should be knowing about, because the statistics are out there for everyone to see. It's not just a case of, oh, really? It is there in black and white, literally.
Yeah. I still find that it absolutely blows my brain that you and I, as a white woman and a Black woman expecting twins, could have had different health outcomes just because of the colour of our skin. I mean, it's just, that's so unjust in a society that should be access to all healthcare for all. And do you feel more confident then about accessing the care that you need with the knowledge you now have, or are you still nervous about it?
Yeah, I mean, a part of me is probably still nervous about it. I mean, the closer I think I'm getting to, my due date, I think to myself, who's going to be in the hospital, in that room with me, in that labour room with me? Am I going to have at least one midwife that looks like me in there that can, help and support me? Or am I going to be in a room with just, white professionals that if I say no, I feel pressure or, something, am I going to be brushed off as, oh, just stop exaggerating kind of thing? And this is something that I've seen discrimination-wise in healthcare in general. Obviously, as a children's nurse, I've worked in all sorts of, areas within paediatrics, and I've heard nurses say about young people who have, for example, sickle cell crisis, who obviously, when they're in crisis, are in immense pain and need something really strong like morphine, for example. I've heard nurses say about that young child, he doesn't look like he's in pain. Why does he's just doing that because he wants the morphine? And I'm just like, you don't know what that child is going through, whether he's in pain or not. If he says his pain score is 8 or 9 out of 10, that's his pain score and you need to treat accordingly. So yeah, I've seen that discrimination in person as well.
And that's just because potentially a Black person might demonstrate outwardly a different management of pain.
Exactly.
Just on that.
Exactly.
That's mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's absolutely mind-blowing, and then could affect the medication that they're offered.
This is it. And the general outcome of their treatment, you know, things like this can go missed and can even lead to something as severe as death, you know. So this is not a joke. So we do need to be taking this seriously.
That is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's floored me. It's floored me a lot today, because I just think, you know, I think as a white woman who's had two sets of twins, but also then 2 singleton pregnancies. I've been there and worn a lot of pregnancy T-shirts, and there's always been an assumption for me that everything's going to be okay. Health outcomes are going to be okay. And I find this just so mind-blowing that people can even have that worry, that, and then know the facts, the data tells us that the outcomes could be different. Absolutely. For different women in childbirth. Well, absolutely. Angie, we will continue to advocate for you and for women's maternal health, because it's just such an important subject in the arena for babies and children. So let's talk then about post-maternal health. What comes next for you then? We've talked about the maternal health bit. The knowledge is the power, making sure that you have people to advocate for you to get the care that you absolutely deserve and should be treated with equality. What comes next?
So postnatal care, I think this is where sort of you guys come in, mini first aid. So you obviously provide support where carers and parents can access, just to make sure they're confident and know what they're doing in a whole range of sort of situations. So that's where I'm kind of really excited to kind of come on board and work with you guys. And yeah, I think that's where I got involved. Why I got involved, because you guys did approach me and you saw that there was a gap. And what I really loved is that the fact it wasn't just a tokenistic thing. You guys actually made the effort to put steps in pretty much straight away. And there's so many times where, like, Black creators or influencers, whatever you want to call ourselves, we are approached, and it's always so tactical around Black History Month.
Right.
You get people coming to approach you, can you do this for us? Or, you know, our organisation needs this. But then when you follow it up a few months later, actually nothing's changed, and it was just purely a tick box exercise to make their organisation look diverse. But with you guys have made changes straight away, and it's so obvious to see. And that's what makes me really happy, and why I decided to get on board with you guys. So, yeah.
I'm smiling away here. If you're listening and if you're watching online, you'll be able to see my big grin, because I'll tell you the bit of the backstory to this is that, you know, as a mum who's been on a pregnancy journey, we know that we have our antenatal support, and then we move into that postnatal period, and we can chat in a minute about what that's going to be like for being a twin mum. But when you move into that postnatal period and you move into that unknown bit, there's education that you need. And one of the things that Mini First Aid do is supply part of that education, which is around making sure that, one, you keep your babies fit and healthy, but also if something did happen, that you spot the signs and symptoms and you know what you're doing quickly. But sadly for Mini First Aid and for the first aid industry generally as a whole, is that historically first aid has all been engineered towards educating about white skin. And we knew within our team that we had to do something about that. We needed to make sure that our education covered everybody. And I remember when Gemma in our team said, I found Angie. Angie is going to be the best person to come into our business and talk to us. And I was really nervous because, you know, Angie, when you were saying there about being tokenistic or we're ticking a box, I didn't want to offend you and have you thinking that that's what I was after. You know, is that actually fundamentally I wanted everybody to know about first aid symptoms in black and brown skin, as well as they know about first aid symptoms in white skin. And I love the fact that you've come on to do that for us, and you're part of our postnatal education program. When you said you got involved in first aid and you said, okay, this is a business that are changing things, we had to go, when we were producing new literature, we had to go to the USA to try and get some of the images of what burns look like on black skin, didn't we? What can you remember back or tell us a little bit about what that journey was like, helping us create all the materials?
Yeah, do you know what? I think when Gemma did approach me, and it was, we really do have a gap, and we realised that, and we'd love for you to come on board and train our trainers. When I was putting together the presentation for you guys, even I struggled to look for images, because you could type in something like chicken pox or a rash or meningitis or burn, and your search engine will come up with pages and pages and pages of what that would look like on white skin, and you're constantly searching and scrolling until maybe, I don't know, page 2, page 3, you might find just that one image of what a burn might look like on black skin. And that's really interesting, because it's like when you're searching for something, you have to be specific. You have to type in burn on black skin at the end just to get a picture. Whereas you should be able to put a burn and get a whole combination, a whole range of different skin tones coming up on the first page, really. Why should I have to scroll so far down just to get that one image? So yeah, even for me, putting that presentation together for you guys was a little bit challenging, but I did it, and I found some images.
We did, didn't we? We got great images, and I think that's the key thing, is that we wanted it to be in all of our classes and on all of the ways that we educate, whether that's through social media, YouTube, and all the different platforms that we educate through, is that we just wanted that to be the norm, that you see the different versions and it not be, I've got to go and look for this. Because I guess as a black woman, I'm not going to guess, I'm going to ask you, what do you think it says to people if they can't find the information that they need?
It just says that we're not as important, we don't matter. I just feel like first aid or healthcare in general, when you're attending a class as a black woman or brown woman person, you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, a lot of this talk is around what it might look like on white skin. What about me and my child? That doesn't happen. So it kind of leaves you feeling a little bit lost, a little bit left out, and wondering, well, that was pointless, really, because I can't relate that to my child or my children or myself even. And that's really sad, and things like that should just be normalised-ish. Like, we should be delivering healthcare, we should be delivering first aid, anything to do with anyone should just be normal, and reflects a mixture of ethnicities and skin tones that there are in the UK, you know.
And it, make it standard, isn't it? And I think that's what Mini First Aid is striving to do, is to just say this is standard.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the things that we struggled with was how we were going to tell people that we'd done this with you, how we'd done this project, because we didn't want the big I am, because we wanted, quite frankly, we should be doing it, right? We should be doing it. But we knew we needed to have a campaign, and we've called our campaign Diverse Perspectives. And that was so that we could talk to the media and say, look, we are an organisation that is doing it in postnatal education and in first aid education. We are doing it. Tell me a little bit about that Diverse Perspectives campaign from your perspective, Angie.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole Diverse Perspective campaign, and I'm super proud to be on board with it with you guys, because for me, it's all about, like I've just said, making first aid inclusive to all. Anyone should be able to attend a first aid course or read a first aid book or literature or get some leaflets, not just mini first aid, but all over, and just be like, wow, I feel represented too. You know, I know what to look out for my little boy or girl who's got black skin or brown skin. And it's just about showing illnesses, what symptoms look like on a whole range of skin tones, and not just focusing so much on, you know, we hear so much in first aid, look out for redness or look out for blueness. And then you've got like a parent sitting there looking at their child thinking, I don't know if my child's going to go red, kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Which is, it's funny to laugh now, but it's actually very serious, because these kind of things carry on into healthcare. And for example, if you're going into an A&E department or a clinic and you're saying, my child is not well, I think something's wrong, they've got this rash, I think it might be an allergic reaction, and they're not recognising the other clinical symptoms of an allergic reaction and just probably maybe looking for a red rash, and you're not sort of used to working with black or brown skin, that could be quite detrimental, you know. So that's why I love the whole diverse perspectives thing, because it's about normalising what to look out for on all skin tones, wherever you are in the UK, whether you come across black or brown people regularly or not. For example, I could be on a weekend break somewhere. Like I'm based in London, so I'm used to seeing a whole diverse range of people. But say like I went on a weekend trip somewhere like, I don't know, Lake District, Peak District, you know, and I've gone walking around and I've rubbed against a bush and my skin starts to get a bit irritated and something's wrong. So I've taken myself to that local A&E hospital, urgent care centre. And I say, I think I'm having a really serious allergic reaction here. And they're looking for redness. I'm not necessarily going to go red, but my throat could still be swelling up. And they won't know that because you're just looking up for redness. So it's just about recognising the whole picture as well. So yeah, that's why I'm really excited to get this campaign out there for everyone.
And not only is Angie pregnant with twins and due any day, but Angie is also, and she's being very bashful about it, but Angie has been responsible for training hundreds of our trainers and teaching them all the different signs and symptoms to spot in black and brown skin, and we talked about choking, didn't we, for example, and we talked about burns, and we've partnered with the Children's Burns Trust, who've got involved about making sure that black and brown skin is represented in literature. So it's been brilliant, and Angie's done all that. But I think the other key thing to say, Angie, that you've done for us is you've allowed us to ask you the awkward questions where we've felt a bit, I'm a white woman, can I ask you this? You've had our trainers who've said, who do I look at when I talk about black and brown skin? Do I only make eye contact with the black person in the room? And what's been lovely is that you've given our trainers the permission to say, can I ask you the awkward question or deal with the elephant in the room?
Absolutely.
That experience, what was it like when you were with all our trainers at our conference recently?
Do you know what? I think it was refreshing. I think that is the word. I think it was really important for people to ask me the awkward questions that's probably been sitting within them for so long. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I was grateful that they felt comfortable to approach me with the awkward questions, because now I'm hoping and I'm hearing that actually just based on them being brave and asking out the questions and me giving them the responses, for example, it is okay to say the word black person, black woman, black man, white person, white man. You know, there's nothing like, am I going to be offending anybody? You know, just be confident in what you're saying. It's when you start making things a little bit awkward that people start picking up like, oh, you're not quite comfortable here, are you? Kind of thing. We can see that you're not comfortable. So I'm really glad that those people came to me and used that space in a safe environment where they could come to me and say and ask me, like you said, those weird, awkward questions that I've probably been burning them for so long. And I'm hearing now that, you know, people are more comfortable when they're delivering their training in who they look at in the room, for example, and what they're saying. And for me, that's my job done. You know, my job is done in terms of having more confident trainers, because you never know who's going to be in that room. Yeah, you might have a room full of white people, white clients, but you don't know if that person's a foster parent, an adoptive parent. You don't know if they've got black or brown extended family or live next door to someone. And this is why it's so important, again, with diverse perspectives, to be inclusive to all when we're talking about first aid. So for me, it was good. I'd say keep the questions coming.
Great. I love that because there's that very British thing in us where we sort of feel a little bit awkward or uncomfortable, or we have this political correctness gone wrong, don't we? And we just say, Angie, I need to ask you a question and I need to know because I want this to be inclusive for everybody. And what's amazing is that we're already seeing people on our classes coming back with feedback and saying, today you spoke to me. People commenting, Trustpilot reviews of people saying, this was incredible. I have black children and you spoke to me, and now I know how to recognise signs and symptoms. And Angie, that's down to your really, really hard work and us letting you loose on our team. So thank you. Now we've got a few minutes and I've just got to chat twins with you, because we can't get off this podcast without one pregnant twin mama, one with two sets of twins, just getting a little natter together. Can I ask you a question? You don't have to tell us, but have you got names? Do you know what you're going for?
We've got names, and we're going to keep them under wraps until they're born. You kind of like, sometimes, you know, when you want to see them when they're born, and be like, this is their names. But yeah, we've definitely got our names sorted out now. We told our little girl, our daughter, who's 7, and she's been so good at keeping it a secret of people but in asking. She's like, no, I'm not allowed to say. Amazing. I don't think I'd have trusted our older two with names, because I think it's and you're getting one of each, which is fantastic. You couldn't ask for anything better, really, could you?
Yeah, we're quite heavily girl weighted in this family, so I've got 1 boy and then 5 girls. So we've got a lot of names. We've got a lot of girl names. Trying to find them. What's been, with getting ready, preparation wise, what's been the biggest? What have you spent most of your time on preparing for the babies to be born?
Oh my God, I don't know where to start. Like literally, I am in nesting crazy mode right now. Yesterday we painted the whole house. I've washed all the sets of baby clothes, and now it's like, hopefully over the next week or so, I'm going to start folding them into sort of age order, short sleeves, long sleeves. I've got a long task ahead of me, but I'm enjoying it, because I'm just like looking. The last time I had a baby was 7 years ago, and just looking at the tiny baby grows, I'm like, oh, there's going to be 2 of them soon. It's just super exciting. So that's been taking a lot of my time recently.
Oh my gosh, I saw one of your TikTok videos where you were showing what you pack in your suitcase.
Yeah.
Can you fit everything in a suitcase for twins? Is it actually possible?
Do you know what? It's funny you say that, because I was thinking yesterday, I'm going to have to add more clothes in, I think. What if I'm in hospital for more than like a couple of days? You know, you just don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to have to reopen that case, I think, and add some extra bits in for twins, just in case. Maybe a few more baby grows. It'd be like I'm going on holiday, I think, at this rate.
They found, I know that when our twins were born, they were born at both sets were born at 37 weeks. And the first set sort of came out as average sized babies, 5-pounders. But the second set of twins were quite a bit smaller. And so quite a lot of the stuff that I bought was wildly the wrong size. I needed extra tiny baby. And the maternity unit just found it. It just appeared. Oh. I was like, oh, I don't think I bought that for you. And they were wearing some, and the cute little hats, because all the hospitals have people that knit for them. So you get these cute little hats, maybe not the colour choice you'd have chosen, but it does the job. It does the job, doesn't it? Have you had to do lots of preparation at home as well?
Loads of preparation. Literally, I can't even describe it. The whole house has just been basically reconfigured to accommodate twins. We built our cot a few days ago. I know some people like to put them in sort of separate cots when you have twins, but I just think they bonded for so long within us. It just makes sense to put them together in one cot, so you can just continue that bond. Did you do that?
Yeah, ours slept together. And actually, in the very early days, whenever we went out in the pram, although we'd bought a double pram, we actually had them both in one carry cot, because we put them in 2 and they would scream, and then you just put them next to each other and they sort of curl around each other. And you only really have probably, I don't know, it depends how little they are, but probably a few weeks where they're small enough where you can do that safely. But oh my gosh, you know, literally you have this
thing, you know.
Yeah, I think screaming
machine. And the woman had the same buggy that we purchased, a double side-by-side one, and she when they were newborn, put them in one of the carry cots for a few weeks. I'm like, I never thought of doing that.
Yeah. I used to. They taught me how to swaddle them together as well. So it was, and I used to carry them together a lot. So I had all sorts of slings, but carrying them together, they just settle as soon as they're next to each other.
You're going to have to
amazing.
show me some links where you got like a double carrier and stuff from, because I've been looking.
Yeah, absolutely. I would massively recommend the sling libraries because you can spend a fortune and actually you don't need them for very long because they're growing. So we went through 4 different twin slings and had them. But yeah, we had them in together. Dead cute. And then it means you've got your hands free. So then you can take your photos. You can send me loads of your shots. You can update your Instagram.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep you busy because I know one of the things that's happened as part of the Diverse Perspectives campaign is that we've had lots of media interest in what we're doing. So we've had this very sort of careful, sensitive conversation with Angie going, Angie, how long do you think it will be before you'd be able to come and do some work? We'll hold the babies. Will you bring them? Because we might have to go on the TV. So, it's exciting times. Angie, before we go, let's talk about the future, because obviously, you're hugely passionate about Black women's maternal health, and you're talking about your plans with us, but also for Diverse Perspectives. You're going to embark on a whole new adventure with these twinnies. What's your hopes for those babies, your babies, coming into the world in 2023?
Gosh, it's such a difficult one, isn't it? Because it just feels like the world is so heavy at the moment, and you just want to protect your babies from so much. But I think ultimately what I would want is for my twins, all children, to be happy, to have the space to voice themselves and be who they want to be. But also, for my twins particularly, is just to be able to access healthcare and, just health in general without being looked at, without being judged or prejudged based on the colour of their skin, and just get the care that they deserve, just like everybody else. And just to go forward in the world and achieve what they want to achieve, be happy, healthy. That's all I can ask for. When your children are happy and healthy, you've done a good job.
Totally.
And respectful too.
Yeah, of course. Angie, thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing, particularly at this hugely late stage in your pregnancy, to come and talk to us today, and all the insights. I think if you want to know more about Diverse Perspectives, have a look across the Mini First Aid social channels, and there's a blog coming soon as well. And you can also follow us across our regular channels, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, as well as catch us on TikTok doing our thing. If you want to subscribe to more episodes of our latest podcast, then please do so across the platform that you prefer. And if you want to watch the video of Angie and I chatting, you want to know what we look like, then have a look on our YouTube channel, specifically set up for this podcast, Family Health. And if in the future there is anything that you would like to hear, is there a burning family health issue that you want to know more about, please do let us know. And when we prep for our next series, we would love to get some of the voices that you would like to hear from. Thanks again to Angie, and thank you again for listening.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Family Health by Mini First Aid. I hope you found our podcast really useful and informative. If you want to know more about Mini First Aid classes, courses, qualification courses or first aid supplies, please do visit minifirstaid.co.uk or look us up on all your favourite social platforms at Mini First Aid. I take Savlon Scar Prevention Gel everywhere with me so that I'm always prepared for the many little and sometimes bigger accidents that my kids encounter. Thank you again to Savlon Prevention Gel for sponsoring Series 1 of the Family Health by Mini First Aid podcast.